Hello, I'm Pavel Ledentsov and I'm author of FastNetMon and I'm CTO of FastNetMon Limited. In this video I'm going to talk about what is the point of DDoS attacks and who actually starts them. So we can hear so often in media that some bad guys attacked some specific service using an approach called DDoS and they knock them down. But in many cases, there are no explanation of what was motivation. Why? It's a great question. Every single engineer must ask this question every time. Every time you can see something unusual in your network, like some spike on drives. Why? Some issue like misbehavior of specific application. Why? Some outage or packet drop, and then you ask why. But with DDoS attacks it's way more complicated because in some cases we have lots of information in general about how we can actually stop them. But we have barely any serious information to explain who actually starts them, why, what was purpose. I've been talking and I hear this question so many times. I ask this question so many times because I'm still in process to find out in which case, who does it. And so, what I can tell you now, in almost all cases, there is a clear motivation behind the DDoS attack. Almost all the time. In some case, you may be just false victim, because bad guys they are still human beings, and they may fail their homework in attempt to find what is the hosting provider for this specific guy I want to attack. What is the hoster for this specific service I want to attack. And they just maybe pick up you as wrong company and start attacking you. But it's extremely rare. I mean, it happens. But it's like we're talking about fraction of percent. It's nothing. In most of the cases, attack is well justified and well prepared. What does it mean? It's not artificial. It's not, I mean, it's actually artificial, but I mean it's not just accident. They have clear intention to attack your specific network. Why is this important? Because it's not, sometimes I refer to DDoS as weather. Because it changes all the time and we cannot predict it. But what is the difference with weather? It's completely random. We have no inspiration about it. But for DDoS, for example, if you don't like weather for now, wait next day. And especially it's true in London, just sometimes few hours, and it will be better or worse, way worse. What does it mean? Why is this important? What's this stuff about weather is relevant? It's relevant because if you, for example, your network in the middle of night or Christmas was hit by DDoS attack, and you it was accident. It will not happen again. It will. There is a 99% of chance that it will happen. And that's the reason why you need to find out what was main point. And that's here, at this point, network engineering stops. Why? As network engineer, it's very unlikely that you may, on your own, investigate what was the point. So, who can help? Somebody from business side of company. So one of the most common types of DDoS attacks, common reasons of DDoS attacks, we witnessed it so many times, mostly on developing markets. It's your competitors. We can see clear correlation between expansion rate of internet in specific countries and number of DDoS attacks they see. And who is to blame? Your competitors. Because, for example, all the time when you start working in some specific non-established market, there are lots of money. It's like a way to get rich very fast. And it attracts lots of people because you're just creating internet in your specific country. And lots of people want it. And lots of people push you, okay, take my money and provide me internet. And that's how competition starts. Because when different people, your competitors say, okay, there's serious money here. We can get them more by knocking down our competitor using DDoS attack. Of course it's false. It's absolutely incorrect explanation, because it's very untrue to expect that if you knock specific competitor down, you'll get their customers. No way, really. If you think that this specific company is your competitor, no way. There are maybe tens or hundreds of companies who are actually your competitor, and you have no idea about them. And knocking down one of them, okay, it doesn't change anything. And it's not, there are no clear correlation between DDoS attack against company and customers immediately leaving this company. No, like maybe a fraction of percent will leave after DDoS attack, but it's not that much. It's not life changing. But again, so you may find more explanation about what was point of DDoS attack talking with your business people, strategical people, C-level executives, because they may know who is actually our competitor, and in some cases it may be great reason to escalate to authorities to investigate it, because if you're quite sure enough who actually started it, try it. And who else I can help you? Literally anyone in your company, because ransomware attacks are on the rise, and there are clear motivation to DDoS you. So literally how it works, people mail somebody in your company. It may not be C-level executive, it may be your support team, it may be your sales team, or it may be just somebody on the internet, like just claiming that they will start attack against you if you don't pay ransomware, or bribe to them. And so it's different options. So somebody from your company may receive this email, and of course it needs to be escalated to security, and then it needs to share with network people just to be prepared. So, and because in this case there is a clear motivation to attack your network with DDoS, because they're asking for money, sometimes it's serious money, tens of thousands of dollars, and in exchange they treat you to attack your network. Again, clear enough, and it counts for a serious chunk of DDoS attacks. What else? And that's how things get more complicated. One of the large sources of attacks is just people hate, unfortunately. It's some kind of activist, somebody on your forum or on your service is not happy with different persons talking about, or what your customer is talking about. Because in terms of telecom provider, it may be very complicated. It's very simpler to investigate DDoS attack when you're a content company. I mean, when you own content, you have everything in place, you have only your own services in your network. There are no customer infrastructure in your network. And then you can say, for sure, if this attack was against us, it means it was against our service, against our content, against our direct purpose of business. But for telecom companies, most of the time we are collateral damage. And in most of the time, fortunately, there are no clear intention to knock telecom provider down just because we want, somebody wants it. But again, for ransomware attacks or for competitors, yes, it may be the case. It may be definitely the case. But if attack is going against specific service, most likely it's your customer to blame. And then again, you need to talk with your customer to find out, like, what was the point, what happened. And one of the interesting things is, so often very legitimate services they fail as victim of DDoS attacks. But from my previous experience working for hosting company, for cloud, for cyber company, and it was that in many cases bad activities that attract so many DDoS attacks. Again, some form of typically references as darknet. It's some definitely illegal activities, and of course again they have lots of competition between them, and they are already they are already illegal. They don't care, because for some companies or forums which are actually in charge of selling stolen credit cards or customer credentials, they don't care, and of course they use DDoS attacks against their competitors very often. And what I'm trying to say, like, if your customer attracts so many DDoS attacks, it may be a good point to understand better what they're doing and why they're doing this. Because in some cases, of course, yes, they may be just misfortune, or they may be exactly the same victims of ransomware, or maybe they're doing something very strange. But so for different set of attacks, it's just which run justly by activists, and in this case, motivation is again it's extremely complicated to find it. You need to be in very great relation with your community to catch this kind of attacks. Because somebody on Twitter or LinkedIn or Discord may say, oh, I hate this company. And then, a few hours later, you receive DDoS attack, which is great because you can at least take it down, like this specific person treated to start attack against us, and then, okay, it happened. Unfortunately, so much you can do. Of course, you can chase every single person saying bad words about your company, but at least you can have basic understanding what triggered exactly this event. But the different thing is one of the quite also popular types of DDoS attacks you may experience as telecom provider. It's attacks against your clients. But when I say clients, it's more like residential internet customers, like just individual households. And why they may attract DDoS attacks? And in this case, it's quite interesting answer. It's gaming, because again, gaming is getting more and more profitable business. And again, we have clear business explanation. Because, for example, if you have a competition with specific company and like $10,000 on stake for winner, and if something happens with one of the teams, nobody cares. They just failed to show up, and the remaining team got everything. And then you may have very hard time to explain, okay, we failed to show up on competition because our internet was dead. And so that's how internet provider may be false victim of DDoS attack, which has original target on specific person playing in like Counter-Strike or Minecraft or some different game, because so many competition for different purposes. And as you can see, what I'm trying to say, I'm not trying to explain every single reason of DDoS attack, because it's impossible, like so many of them, but all the time try to find what is the business point of it. Because again, it's not cheap to run DDoS attack. And if we are talking about serious, large-scale, well-coordinated attacks, it's then expensive. For simple attack, yes, it's simple. But for complicated attacks, it may be hundreds, thousands, or maybe tens of thousands of dollars and time of specific people to coordinate it, control it, and change tactics in response to your defense. Which means if you experience this kind of attack, you may be very clear that you crossed somebody very hard way, and they're well dedicated to pour more money and risk their reputation. And again, like it's a risk of crossing like low, because it's definitely legal in an attempt to knock it down your company. And I would recommend all the time, be in touch with your local authorities. I mean, it's more about CERT in your company, in your specific country. Be in touch with your community, in general, network community. Share as much as possible information about DDoS attack types. Because again, we witnessed it so many times that specific type of attack emerges in specific country. Because bad guys, they have maybe sometimes rules, they have some dedication about, okay, let's start it in somewhere. Because last time we witnessed it in Ireland, like some time ago we saw something similar to New Zealand. It's looked like, and then from our side as a DDoS mitigation company, we see this constant request, like a bunch of requests from specific country and from different companies, like what's going on? It's like it tastes like pandemic, and it's Russia. And so you may find correlation, but what is the point to coordinate with your local community? Because at least you will understand like what kind of DDoS attacks they're using, what kind of tools they're using against you, what kind of company can help you with that, and like what kind of assistance you may receive from your ISP, or again, if it affects so many companies and telecom providers in a specific area, how you can actually escalate to authorities and ask for their help. So I can see attacks are very complicated, but I would recommend all the time to try to find out what was root cause. Of course, it must not be your ideal fix, but oh, I need to find this specific attack from November 2020, what it was. And just be prepared. For most of the cases, it's impossible. And in so many cases, when you see in media, it's like state-backed DDoS attack. And in this case, again, it's almost impossible to find out who was actually behind attack. And even like moving to next step to say it was specific country or specific company, I mean, all the time it must be, investigated by authorities, by police or FBI, and after their investigation, they can, okay, we can confirm it was for sure started by company X. But before, it's just speculation, and it has no foundation. And having worked in this industry for so long time, I would say it's almost impossible to find who actually did it. Just be prepared to defend it. Just plan your network, your capacity for potential DDoS attacks, and be in touch with your community. Like handle all angry people before it escalates to some conflict. Because in many cases you make them happy. Because if you have great community management people, if you have great people in social media, they may just calm down person and then resolve problem. Because in some cases people just upset. And they're trying to like how they actually can vent out their frustration. And if they receive great feedback, okay, we will sort your problem, we will have, it will change their mind. Instead of looking how to DDoS company X, okay, resolve it, no problem, no DDoS. But so it's just be kind to everyone and stay tuned. So for next time we'll talk more about DDoS attacks. Thank you for listening.